Well, if you're like me and you're one of those people that wanted to see a much smaller government when the Republicans took control of the Iowa House in January, when they unveiled the new budget with the new Republican governor that also promised us some pretty big budget cuts in the campaign last year, and if you're like me and you're disappointed that you barely saw baby steps, there might have been a method to the madness. Because today, the Senate Democrats, led by co-governor Mike Ronstall, announced they're going to proceed with their own budget plans, and that means we are definitely one giant step closer to a shutdown of state government. Now, I believe that this could end up playing in the Republicans' favor politically. Because since they really disappointed their base with their lack of really deep, substantive, and needed cuts, the Republicans can now make the case to the media. They can say, listen, we tried to reach across the aisle. We scaled back our own campaign pledges. We even told our base, hey, we've got to just get a deal done. We've tried to be pragmatic. We tried to reach across the aisle to Mike Ronstall and his minions, and we couldn't get a deal done. They were bent on shutting down this government from the very beginning. They responded to the voters last November saying Iowa's government is too big by saying even small, minuscule, likely hardly even felt budget cuts are too draconian, and that means we're going to stake our ground and shut the government down over a budget that's not nearly as small as it needs to be. Now, if that indeed was the method to the Republican madness, it will turn out, I believe, to be a political stroke of genius. It's just that given who the Republican leadership is, I have a bit of a skeptical time believing that's the case, but hey, maybe the blind squirrel did find his acorn. I believe the Democrats want to shut the government down, and I believe this now for a few weeks. And the reason why is for two reasons. Number one, their base is demoralized after this last election cycle when over 700 elected Democrats in this country, including quite a few here in Iowa, lost their jobs and were fired by the voters. And not only are they demoralized, but now with the Republicans going through a presidential caucus and the Republican base being stirred up and excited, and the Democratic base now even has something else not to get all that fired up about as they watch Barack Obama's poll numbers continue to plummet. And that leads, I think, to the second reason they want the shutdown. Because of, number one, the most loyal voting bloc the Democrats have, other than homosexuals and abortionists, are public sector employee unions. It's also maybe a treasure trove the Democrats would like to tap. So by shutting down the government, this becomes a huge fundraising opportunity for the Democrats. They get to gin up their base into some kind of, zeal that those Republicans and their crony and their corporate cronies are taking their pensions away yet again, send us money sort of emails. Both sides do this sort of street theater. The Republicans certainly are not above sending you the pagans are coming, send money emails. And now the Democrats are going to say, here comes corporate America, although Mike Ronstall is as well funded by corporate America as any politician in Iowa. But here comes corporate America. They've come to take your kids' welfare check and your pension away. I think that's been the Democrat plan all along. I think they see the government being shut down as an opportunity to excite their base, motivate them, and fundraise. Cynical? Of course. But we're talking about Mike Ronstall here. Thanks for joining us today at stevedeace.com. You can email me, steve@stevedeace.com. Find me on Facebook at Stephen Deace or on Twitter at Steve_Deace. God bless.